make a it's like a scene. I'm going to make a scene. I'm going to make a watery scene. So this is like the edge of a set of rocks. Just an old piece of wood, a bit of build. I'm kind of going to make two, I think, at some point. So I'm going to cut it in half, and that'll fit the end of the back end of whatever the scene looks like. And I'm sort of thinking that end looks quite nice as like a seafront. And that was like a set of cliffs leading onto the sea, so I think I'm going to cut it roughly like halfway there. Try and turn them. Maybe not this one, but maybe this one I could actually turn. And in saying that, I want the edge on that, the flats on that. Because obviously I could always turn them and then sand stroke cut off at that edge. It's setting at the moment. I'm pretty pleased with that. so that you put it a little bit too cold and you end up with that murkiness, cloudy effect. But if you just stand in front of the heater, keep moving it around so it doesn't get single heat into one place, then you'll find that it just clears up. See the stuff? Yeah. So that's all now nice and set. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to mix some white up. It's going to create almost like a sea foam effect. Here's the wood that I'm hoping to, oh sorry, the moss that I'm hoping to peel off. In fact, that's coming off quite nicely. See if I can get some more of this off in chunks. Feels like it will come off in a nice big chunk. Might have melted the cup a little bit there. It's So I just mixed up a batch of resin and you can now throw it through the vacuum chamber, and the idea behind this is that it will get rid of all of the bubbles, sort of. You find is that all the bubbles kind of sit at the top, so if you cycle it a few times then you kind of get rid of most of the bubbles as the liquid. Switch off the vacuum pump. Yeah, very few bubbles now, considering that is pretty much pulling a full vacuum. When resin sets, it creates heat, and the resin that I'm using is designed to maybe max out at about 50 millimeters worth, so that would only take it to about half full, maybe not even that. But I don't want to do that, because if you do that you end up with like a line. If you do one pour, wait for it to set, and then you do the other pour, there's always a line I tend to find, and it's really annoying. I don't want that, so I am going to try and do an entire pour at once. The downside of that is that because of the heat generated by the resin, there's a good chance it can melt this glue. So obviously this has all been glued up, and as far as I can see it's as good as it's ever going to get. But the resin being, as it sets, it will create heat, and it will potentially it might unset the glue. What I've done is I've used this tuck tape, and I've seen it used before, and I'm going to finish off and make sure the whole thing is completely wrapped twice in this tuck tape. Just kind of need this stuff to dry first, and then the idea is if the glue fails, the tuck tape should hopefully still keep most, if not all of it in. be what it will be, is my thoughts at this point. But I'm not seeing any leaks. That's a strong plus for me. No. Okay, so here we are with the grand unveiling. Well, sort of right, but also sort of wrong. It's definitely not leaked. So there's more like a mottled effect with it. There we go. Oddities in that far corner. But A, it didn't leak, which is brilliant. So this stuff, this tape, I'm going to be using that again. The mottled effect is actually quite odd. I think it might actually just be on the surface. So apologies, but I missed about half an hour of resin turning yesterday. Just completely forgot to put the camera on. No idea why. So I'm just going to give a bit of an update of where I've got up to. So I can see it's been pulled back down. I glued some wood, some spare wood that I had, just to this edge, primarily just to make sure it was balanced because it was still quite wobbly. Swirl marks on the inside of it, which you can sort of see, which is a bit of a pity. So, you can sort of get an idea there of hopefully what I'm trying to do, but maybe seeing it from top down gives you more of a clue. Again, it's not the clearest resin, but it's pretty decent for the volume. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place a, obviously this has all been sanded by down, but I'm going to create a base for it. And the base is going to have some lighting built into it, so it'll hopefully light up underneath, which it should do because I can physically see my hand through it. I think you'll be able to see that. You can see my fingers there. So it's reasonably opaque. And yeah, I'm going to put some lights in the base. I'm going to have the base detachable as well, or at least the where the battery pack is. Yeah, so I'm going to cut this bit off for job number one, and I'm going to go in there. And what I'm probably going to have to do as well is sort of, so I'm going to have to cut in a recess. So it's whether I do a recess or something else. This is a bit I've not quite worked out in my head yet how I'm going to do this. Right, I'll take the mask off while I'm thinking about this. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this. This obviously has come off there, so that's going to be the base of. Once I've chopped it all down and cut it all down to size, that's going to be the base of that. And obviously that's going to sit through there, which is going to have the lights coming through. With like an inch of circumference on the outside. And then what I want to do is have the lights inside that bit. Although they could theoretically sit there actually. And I could just use the base as doesn't really matter, I suppose. Yeah, I can do that fine. So yeah, cut that bit off is job number one. At which point what I've then got to do is create something that can sit in, or I make that proud. And I think what I'm going to do is make that proud, because if that's proud, then this will physically rest on it. So that, yeah, so I'm going to create in fact what I essentially want to do is almost leave a bit of that on, so that physically rests, but the problem is that is actually slightly too big. So I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm going to create a new line. So I'm just going to mark roughly the new line. Although it's going to be relatively easy to see, but what I'll do is I'll chop out a bit here so that it creates a lip on there. and the lip will hold for the bit that sits inside there. This is the lighting kit I got. So what I did the last time that I had one of these kits is you want to get these small ones and you want to take a single battery. So I actually powered 2 of these rungs off, a single thing, but I put a double battery adapter on instead. So you actually end up with 2 runs of this. So I'm just going to try it with one, but the worst case scenario is I can just chop these, solder on the 2-1, and it's just as good. So yeah, the idea is that will hopefully sit inside. I can move this yet or not. Feels like I can. Okay, so there's a few like I seem to get that quite a bit actually, but I think I can understand why with this piece, but there are a few marks, horizontal sanding marks, so it's not perfect as much as I'd like it to be. It isn't, but it's not bad. It's not bad.